Hello there. Welcome to another roundtable. We're talking He-Man tonight. You guys ready for some cringe introductions? I got some more wrestling names for everyone here. It's fine. Cringe is cool. Joining us to my immediate, wherever that is Gaz the Anvil Neidhart and his partner, Hitman Hans Hart, the excellence of eloquation. Below me is the mouth of the South, Adam Hart, their manager. And then first time on the channel, joining us is Adam the Brain Heenan, who is the mastermind behind the site right here. One of my favorite He-Man websites, the Battle Ram He-Man blog. So thank you all for making the time to be here tonight. Adam, thank you for joining me on here. And the first question I want to ask you is, why did you decide on that name? Because Masters of the Universe. Oh, we got one more. We got to run in. Sorry, guys. It's Bob Bigelow.
Hey! Oh my goodness. Sorry I'm late, guys.
I know you love the name Bob, so I gave it to you twice. You call me Double M, I call you Double Bob. Bob Bigelow.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so excited. Thanks, Double M, for letting me join you in, my clone. And what's up, Adam, Gaz, Adam again, and goodness, Hans, how are you, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Nice to see you.
Bob, I'm glad you got that, because some people might pronounce that me clone, but since you just did Cyclone, you read that right. But
I'm OKF, dude. I know how to pronounce everything.
Bob, on the far side there is Adam. He runs the He-Man Battle Ram blog.
Awesome.
My buddy's Customs, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Joe, good to see you. Fantasy, science fiction, thanks for joining us. And Corbin, thanks for joining us. Adam, so with all of the figures and the toys and Masters of the Universe, why did you decide on Battle Ram as the name of the blog?
Yeah, well, I didn't want it to be too generic sounding. Like I didn't want like Masters of the Universe in the title or Grayskull or something that was a little, kind of too obvious. At the time, I was super fixated on Battle Ram. It was my favorite vehicle as a kid. I was kind of looking over the artwork, just in awe of it. So I thought, that we'll call it Battle Ram. That you got some alliteration with blog. I just went with it.
Battle Ram blog. Sorry, I show off some of my bling, by the way. I think I've got enough He-Man bling here for everyone. I got the Battle Cat ring. I also got, by the power of Grayskull, Power Sword letter opener, most powerful letter opener in the universe. And then this, cool. If anyone's curious, this monstrosity is Icon Heroes statue, I think, of Castle Grayskull. Let's see here. And Jay just joined us. Thanks for joining us. All right. Adam, do you want to start off with anything in particular?
I mean, we're kind of freewheeling here. Just any topic from the blog.
I think this one's going to be pretty popular. Mentioned it before we went on here. Rio Blast. Let's talk about Rio Blast for a little bit. And I just want to mention the website. Everyone, if you want to check out the website, I've been a fan of it for a long time. BattleRamblog.com. I like how you got the box art or back of the card art. You got the commercial. You've got a picture of Brave Star for Rio Blast. That's awesome because they go hand in hand. Concept art. I just love the synergy that it's not just about the toy. It's my own approach when I do the videos. It's about the synergy of everything that makes the character special, not just the plastic toy. And there's Rio Blast.
Yeah, when I'd started this, I got back into He-Man like in 2012. So at the time, He-Man.org was the big thing. I was just sort of digesting everything I could, but there wasn't a resource. If you wanted to know everything about Rio Blast, for instance, you could get bits and pieces of it in a lot of different places, which I use here. But there wasn't the whole story of the toy from start to finish. So that was kind of my impetus for starting it. Rio Blast is he's a fun character. He's so stylistically outside of what you normally get in Masters of the Universe. He's kind of this. I think one of the early names for him was something like Bionic Space Cowboy or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of tells you what the concept was. but yeah, he's I kind of got the sense is there a lot of you guys is Rio your favorite character?
I mean, as a big Western fan, definitely. Yeah, he's a total oddball type of character, but I love that he's in there. And that's what's cool about He-Man is that you get those kind of characters that don't fit in the sword and sorcery realm, like Jitsu. Who else is in there? There's a bunch that kind of stick out, but Rio Blast, it just makes sense that he would have come from New Texas, that he's a marshal from New Texas, and he just got assigned to Eternia because, the law is being broken. JS,
I have a question. Sorry, just a question for Adam. Does this mean that Bionic Space Cowboy is up for grabs?
Yeah, I mean they didn't use it, so it could be up for grabs.
We'll look into it, but I appreciate that. Yeah, just for future.
How about a Bobonic Space Cowboy?
That's a lot of Bob.
In addition to
Poor guys got no quads. Yeah.
In addition to the cool Western character, the Bionics too. Like he had so much going on with the pop out guns in his legs, swing out guns in the hands, the chest. Like it, just besides being a Western guy, even if he was just a generic space dude, he's got a lot going on. So it's just like a bunch of gimmicks that blend together really nicely. Yeah.
For the 86 line, to me he reads as one of the most deluxe figures. Every part on him is new. They didn't reuse anything. He's got, he's bristling with all of these guns. As an action feature, his action feature is basically additional articulation, but it works because you can make him. It looks like he's about to blow a hole in the side of something when he's all sort of set up.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorites. Anyone else want to say something about Rio or throw out one of your favorites, and we'll look them up here on the Battle Round blog.
Rio's my top. He's gonna need all that firepower to bring in all those evildoers in Eternia.
Yeah.
He's another name,
man, right?
Yeah. He was also called Firepower Man at the beginning, so that's another name. That could be up for grabs. Yeah, Firepower Man.
Now I remember seeing him or sort of seeing something akin to him in a She-Ra episode. What was it? General Blast?
Yeah, or Colonel Blast, I think.
Colonel Blast, that's it. As a Horde commander, and it's not really Rio. It's the closest we'll ever get because he does kind of have the pop-out gimmicks in the episode. But I mean, that was just a case of whatever, we need to fill in a Horde commander here. It's kind of like Sunder, and so they just kind of took Rio Blast and tweaked it to fit the character they needed for the episode.
So his lasers are coming out of his knees.
Kneecap lasers.
Yeah.
That's some Dr. Evil stuff right there.
You were talking about sharks before, right?
Yeah.
Lasers on the frickin' shark.
There are lasers on that freaking kneecaps.
I bet when they go off, Bob will get this joke. He kind of looked like Terry Funk with the wobbly knees when they're shooting.
That could be Rio's opposite. Like he was like the first version of him, and he escaped and became a bad guy, kind of like Wolverine Sabretooth.
I think we're just going to spend the whole night talking about Rio Blast. I didn't anticipate this being a Rio Blast stream, but
he should have came with a hat though. He should have had a hat.
Yeah, I always stick one.
Yeah.
I always stick a Brave Star hat on him. I got the classics one here somewhere. I usually stick like a spare Brave Star hat or something on him.
Yeah. Well, the classics one, he was originally going to come with like a little cigar that would go in his mouth, but they cut that out.
Crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then there was a NECA statue Staction figure, and that one was a real departure from the original design. It's still cool, but
yeah,
they really went further with the whole bionic sci-fi look of them.
Yeah, and my site mostly covers just vintage, so
right.
if you're looking for NECA, it's not on there. But yeah, that one was great. another 4%.
That's a great looking figure, though. Adam, which one's Adam 1 and Adam 2? Flying Fists, Adam. How would you rate that mustache?
I'd give it a 10. That's one heck of a mustache.
It's one of the best stashes in toy history, I would say.
Oh yeah.
I think if I can go against the if I can go against the grain, normally a cowboy hat is perfect and necessary, but the part in his hair is so legendary. I kind of like it without. I kind of like that hair, that giant comb over the ear. He's got that weird kind of, no country for old Eternia type of look going on.
Yeah, well, got the Charles Bronson part right there. Actually, he looks a lot like Charles Bronson.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he should.
It looks like hat hair to me.
Yeah.
He's just wearing it. He's got tired of wearing it. Maybe it blew off when he got to Eternia.
I have to ask because I don't know a lot about. I barely remember Rio Blast. I think he obviously he was one of the tail end figures of the vintage line. Was he 85 or 86 or even afterwards?
86.
Yeah, it says right up there in the. Yeah. Steven, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I've never really thought about what he would sound like if he was in the Filmation show, other than he'd probably sound like Lou Scheimer doing a Western accent.
Probably.
But, now that I've just noticed the resemblance to Charles Bronson, I kind of picture him sounding like Charles Bronson, like, "Hey, you're under arrest. Put your hands in the air. With my machine gun kneecaps." Get whoever played Deep Six to play him. By the power of Grayskull, or words to that effect.
I used to think that he sounded like Kevin Costner from Wyatt Earp, but now that you say that, Mike, I think that's gonna be in my head.
Yeah. All right, that's Rio. Feel free to anyone can throw out another one of their favorites, and we'll look them up on here.
I was a Cyclone kid as an 85 motu kid. He was my main hero. My dogs always chewed up the main characters. So I was a Cyclone was my main lead good guy.
Yeah, and Bob has a great review on the new Cyclone on his channel, Bob's Squad.
It's not a great review, but it's there.
It's a review. It's there. It's more legitimate than mine because mine isn't there and yours is. So, but yeah, Cyclone.
Arguably the greatest Cyclone review.
You're right. It is arguably, and it's not many arguments, but the origins. I'm an origins nut, and the Cyclone origins. I do think they knocked it out of the park there. No one's paying me to say that.
So I don't have the origins one, but I have the vintage one. Is it the same type of like smoothness for when you're spinning them around?
Yes, it's awesome. I originally thought the origins wasn't even coming with the spinning gimmick, so I was blown away as it was. But all you do is a little click where you just kind of extend his waist slightly, so I guess he'd be 6 inches taller in real life. And then you just spin the dial with your thumb, and he goes bananas. It's terrific.
It's really fun. I had actually never really
bananas. Bananas, daddy.
I had never actually really played around with them. Like I got him, I think, a few years ago and stuck him on the shelf, and that was that. And I didn't realize, because I never had one as a kid, I didn't realize what his feature was really. So when I was just doing, I'm doing history of Masters of the Universe 85 right now and going through every figure. And so for the first time, I really gave the gimmick a go. And like, I didn't realize his arms actually go out, and he really gets a lot of speed and momentum doing that. And it's super fun.
Is that a radar dish on his chest? Like a radar screen?
It's like a lenticular piece. So it looks like the radar is wiping across the screen when you move it.
Interesting.
And Adam, Battle Ram Adam, do you have everything from the original line of Masters of the Universe?
I don't. I've had everything in the past, or at least all the figures in the past. At one point I got rid of some of the later ones, and I'm slowly collecting them again. But I've owned them all.
That Cyclone, really easy gimmick to use too. Sometimes, especially with adult fingers and thumbs, it's kind of hard to get in there and do the gimmick. But this thing is just a breeze. It works great.
Yeah. I remember almost getting blister on my thumb from doing that too much as a kid, just all around the house, spin.
And the new one, the Origins one, has this gimmick that you can stick on his arms, so you can recreate this look from the cartoon.
Yeah, it does. The
pretty
old
cool.
take the hands off, put the gimmick on the thing. Yeah, I can't wait to start playing with Cyclone and having some real fun with them. The Origins one, they made a great adjustment. Like the vintage one, is I'm sure you know, is because of the feature, when he's hanging out, his waist is always twisting at an odd angle. Just like Mecha Neck, you can't really a vintage Mecha Neck, you don't pose him in the neck position because he kind of just snaps back. But the Origins fixed the issue there. What amazing artwork!
Yeah, beautiful.
As we're talking about toy-based injuries, if you scroll up a little there, you'll see the only toy that ever caused me any injury right there. One more. No, you see that guy right there, Thunder Punch, man. He almost blew my friggin' thumb off when I was a kid. My mom was like, "You should read the instruction booklet," even as a child.
That was one of the best toys, Thunder Punch He-Man.
Amazing.
Let's take a look at Thunder Punch He-Man. That would be right here. And that was one of my favorites, man. I used a lot of caps in this guy.
Dude. And the fact that you could, the shield went in the sword, and there was something about the chunky backpack, and it was just such a great figure. It was a nice reimagining of He-Man.
That's a beautiful shot from the catalog. Your site, Adam, is the only one I can find this image and a lot of these catalog images. Where'd you track these down? Like these
let's see, that catalog. I'm not sure where I think it was. I think it was one of the Tomart's action figure digest actually had reproduced some of the catalog, and I scanned it from there. I think.
Oh, cool.
I collect anything I can find that works for log. I hold on to.
Those have really gone up in price over the last few years. I remember you could find them for fairly cheap years ago. I grabbed a Centurion's dealer catalog for not much many years ago, back when no one cared. And now, like, the same one I think goes for probably over $100, maybe more.
Yeah.
But the idea of combining a punch with a cap gun firing, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
So did it go in his backpack?
Yeah. The backpack opened up. I'm actually going to go and grab mine and show you.
Oh, yeah.
What
am I doing? We got the blog here. We can. Did I pass it? Oh, it's right here.
I don't know what I showed there. Yeah.
So this lifts up and opens, and then you put the caps in the back.
And then you rotate. Kapow!
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a little metal hammer inside that goes back and then hits the cap as it punches forward.
Yeah, but make sure the backpack is closed properly, because if it's not closed properly and you press it, you lose a finger.
Any chance of Mattel Creations doing a life-size Thunder Punch He-Man backpack with exploding giant caps the size of dinner plates, or no?
Cosplay? That'd be awesome.
I'm in for that.
Possibly too. Yeah, sure.
Walk around with that and just go bam, bam.
They do it for the Ghostbusters
with like shotgun shells. It's a ring, the ring of shotgun shells. Honey, load me up. You are gonna get it, buddy. Just 1 second while I get loaded up here.
I have no idea.
It's actually a really cool idea. A cosplay of it. Mondo did a 12-inch version of this not long ago, or I guess it was a He-Man with like alternate costumes.
Yeah, you could switch out the chest armor to make
him. You know, I got one here somewhere.
There's no Masters of Evil equivalent to this gimmick, was there? I don't think so.
No.
Right. This was him. This was He-Man.
I got the classics version here, and it's fine, but the fact that it doesn't have the actual cap firing Thunder Punch, it's like, okay, the gimmick is more than a costume. You got to have that bang.
Yeah, man.
You can't have everybody doing that bang. He is the most powerful man in the universe, right? So he should be the only one being doing that.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you guys. Yeah, keep it special.
We got Skeletor doing that.
Someone gets hurt. You gotta kaboom, you know?
Is it possible when Thunder Punch He-Man came out, that they did one of those Skeletors with either the dragon claws or one of those wacky things?
They did Dragon Blaster Skeletor.
Okay.
So
Grayskull.
There's a funny story with him. So the original idea for him was something called Smoke and Chain Skeletor, which was basically he had a billows on his back, and it would be filled with talcum powder, and there was a tube going out to his hand, and you could basically push talcum powder out the hand. It looked like smoke. But what they figured out was whenever you get like powder dispersed in the air, it becomes extremely flammable. So it would if there's any open flame, it would cause an explosion. So they had to go back to the drawing board.
So having Thunder Punch He-Man and this guy together.
What happened to your eyebrows?
one kid's going, "Where's my thumb?" and the other one's going,
"Get Mattel on the phone." That would have been an incredible combination.
Can you scroll up?
Take this, He-Man.
Mike, can you scroll up? Was that like an early draft of him? Like, what's that on his head?
Concept art.
Yeah, it's some kind of dungeon. Yeah, it's like some of him came from this. You see the chains and the lock and the cuff. He was some kind of dungeon master Skeletor. There were a few different things that went into him.
Throw them in the dungeon. Wait, let me get my hat.
And this is concept art of. Does he have a beard? Thunder Punch with a beard?
No, it's for whatever reason they had the idea of a movable jaw. So if you were to zoom in, you could see it's like an articulated jaw for He-Man.
Oh,
which
like
would have looked a little weird, I think, for him. But
that is weird. Love all these concept pieces you have on here. Like it really is a history of each figure. Just going through. And I also want to thank Adam, because this is the one 1985 Masters of the Universe toy I don't have. And usually I just use pictures in the videos for the stuff I don't have. But Adam was nice enough to shoot the one he has and do a 360 of it. So get to see a 360 of it thanks to Adam.
Skeletor with his little baby dragon on his back going into battle.
Does it look like an inhaler for people with asthma?
That'd be so cool. Talcum powder.
Jeez.
It's funny. I have no memory of these being deluxe figures, but I guess they were Thunder Punch and Dragon Blaster Skeletor. So they would have cost a little more than the standard figures back then.
I can't remember how much these cost. How much were these guys? About $2.99.
Probably.
Well,
$5.
I think the standard figures were like $4.99 usually. So this, I don't know, maybe this would have been like $6 or $7 or $8. I don't know.
I like that image there with him blasting. Is that Fisto and Man at Arms is taking off? He's like, "I'm out.
I'm out of here." That looks like talcum powder. That ain't water. That's talcum powder.
I like that image. That's cool.
Nice. The mini comic images too. Skeletor's dragon. That's super cool.
Maybe the talcum powder was to apologize for Stinkor earlier, and
Lord. Let's take a look at him. He's one of the most epic. Let's take a look at Stinkor.
Stinkor.
So in the new video that I'm doing, this is the most fun of all of the figures. This is the one that I'm just really coming up with a bunch of ideas to just play around with them. I didn't have them as a kid. I enjoy him a lot more now that the stink has subsided a little bit. But he did have the stink, the patchouli oil mixed in with the plastic. It wasn't sprayed on. It was actually mixed in with. So I took a good sniff of mine, and it still stinks. Just slightly, very weak, but he still stinks.
Of all the gimmicks to give to a child, I mean, children have remarkably sensitive senses of smell. They throw up really easy. It's like, yeah, let's make a toy that's smelly. No.
There's that whole thing of this is horrible. You got to smell this. Oh no, Larry. You know, and it's like, you know, that's the whole thing. But I mean, as neat as, you know, gross out toys as you would think they are, like I specifically remember when all the He-Man toys were gone, like when the line was dead and buried and everything was just on clearance, what was left, Stinkor. There was tons and tons of Stinkor at Toys R Us. He was the last one they couldn't sell.
Wow.
And it did really stink. I mean, the packages were pretty well sealed, but just you had heard from friends like, this smells awful.
Yeah, I remember it being really strong. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. I thought it was awesome and hilarious, but it was really strong to me as a kid.
It was brutal. Yeah, like kids at school had them, and you want to be the tough kid that isn't affected by it. You know, like, oh, I can take a big deep whiff and not gag, and you go, oh, it was pretty powerful.
What always got me about him was his teeth. Who would have seen Stinkor having teeth like that? The man has his sharp mouth.
You can't see him because he's wearing a like a respirator or something there. Like he can't even handle his own stink.
Right.
Yeah, I loved his appearance in the Mike Young 2000X cartoon.
Yeah.
There's one scene in particular. It's when he transforms into Stinkor and he smells it and he's like, the stink is following Oedipus, and then he realizes the stink is coming from Oedipus.
Yeah, I love that one too. That's great.
Yeah, so they I don't believe they ever tried to do that again in the subsequent versions of Stinkor.
I'm wondering if those like little extra things that they have there's like a couple like smaller Stinkors, you know, like the gimmicky stuff. I wonder if those things stink as well.
Wouldn't that be awesome if like the zipper clip stunk? It'd be great if the stamped stinky stamps, like when
your mom came home. She's like, I got you a zipper clip, a Masters of Universe zipper clip. Oh, Green Team-Man? No, it's Stinkor. Oh.
Have they done a new Origins Stinkor?
They have, yeah. He really just smells like strong plastic smell. He doesn't really have a patchouli smell.
So were they going for a bit of a stink, or is that just like?
Yeah, they were, but I don't, for whatever reason, I know there's lots of restrictions on they're changing all the time what scents you can mix into plastics. Yeah. The classics one did have patchouli, but it was much milder than the vintage.
Oh, I got them right here. I'm going to take a whiff.
Kids,
mine doesn't even smell anymore.
Careful, Mike.
I know. The one time the stand works. The first time the stand works. I can't get him out. All right. Look at that. Unbelievable. These never work. First time. All right. Oh.
Does he smell?
It does. It's not strong. It's about as strong as the vintage one, but it's not a pleasant small.
Just leave them over there.
It's a little that burnt rubber type of smell. It ain't good. I mean, it stinks, but it's very weak. It's more his head. Oh man. Why? I mean, it is a hilarious gimmick. Like, let's make a toy that stinks. And luckily that one didn't go overboard. But the vintage one, I specifically remember. Maybe it's like Han said, because your sense of smell as a kid is so much more sensitive. But yeah, I remember specifically as a kid smelling the original one, and it was just god awful. We got a question here from Ned Flanders. Do any of you guys know anything about the variations in the number of spikes on certain Spikor figures?
I think I've heard that there's a couple differences. Just some of them have more, some have fewer, but I'm not recalling offhand what that is.
And call up Spikor figure here. So when I got to this one in the video, I had first thing that popped into my mind is Legion of Doom. So the Road Warriors make a little cameo appearance in the video talking about this guy. I always thought his armor was removable, but it's actually that's stuck on there.
Yeah, it is glued on.
The least huggable master of evil.
He's got quite a few gimmicks. I was surprised that the trident is like a pop-out gimmick in addition to the spikes too. So it looks like in 85 they weren't content with just doing the waist spring. They wanted to add something on top of that.
Yeah, it got more gimmicky as the one went on, for sure.
Adam, you want to throw one out? Flying Fist Adam?
How about Moss Man?
Oh, perfect. The other smelly one.
Stink to pine sol.
And now this one was sprayed on, right? Instead of mixed in with the plastic, the scent?
That I don't know. I've never seen any information on that. I just know pine scent.
Because I always smell the Moss Man, like the one I have doesn't smell like pine sol at all. And when I see one at a convention, like I'll take a whiff and none of them smell like pine sol anymore. So I think they were just sprayed. Yeah,
he does have a weaker smell, for sure. When I got him, I opened him like right by the Christmas tree, so I didn't notice that he had a smell because the tree was right there.
Is this one you had as a kid, Adam?
I did. Yeah.
He does not look like a nature lover. That face is very much Sasquatch. It's not really.
It's Beast Man.
Very intense.
It's just a recolored Beast Man.
Right.
I like the 2000X new interpretation of him. Just kind of more calm looking.
They look like, there's a couple of those images. They look like gargantuas instead of He-Man figures. You know, the War of the Gargantuas. You've seen that movie, right? Toho. Two giant Bigfoot monsters fighting each other in Tokyo.
What's it called, guys?
War of the Gargantuas. You've never seen that? Come on, you guys must have seen that. You've not seen this movie.
I've never heard of this. What is this? 1966?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I've seen this.
If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen this, you're welcome.
Moss Man.
Yeah.
In the mini comic picture, I was like,
man in suit.
This is supposed to be the sequel to Frankenstein Rules the World. I think it is that Toho made.
So who's this dude? He looks more terrifying than the other two. What monster is this?
the director.
It's the director monster. Yeah,
businessman.
So the green one, the darker one, is the evil one. He comes out of the water. The brown one comes from the mountains. So the green one shows up and starts eating people left and right. It's great. It's a great movie. You guys will dig it.
We got to check that out sometime. I love me some of those old movies. Moss Man, and has everyone thrown one out?
How about Grizzlor?
The Horde.
Grizzlor is Horde, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, he's there. What do you know? I don't find him intimidating.
It's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot.
I thought he looked kind of like. Do you remember the movie Critters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me show the poster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas child.
Come on, look at that! Look at that beautiful little dude.
It kind of looks like Grizzlor.
Hate me because I'm beautiful. It's just.
Well, he doesn't. I think he kind of looks like Bigfoot, right? So I have him like the two vintage motu figures I have are Rio and Grizzlor because it's like reenacting the Bionic Man episode where he fights Andre, right?
Oh, right.
Nice.
That's awesome. Battle Ram, Adam, do you have She-Ra stuff on your blog too?
No, not really. Just the horde stuff that was done under Masters.
So that's the approach I took too when I was yeah, that's a shame. When I was putting together the video for 85, like I'm sticking with 85 Masters of the Universe, and I go in depth on the horde because the packaging says Masters of the Universe, but I don't really touch on the She-Ra figures for 85 because it was weird. It's like, you know, the villains of this toy line are actually the villains of this other toy line, which is by the same company, and you know, it's kind of crossover. But I always thought that was interesting that these guys are officially Masters of the Universe toys, but they're the villains of another toy line for girls.
Right. Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know why they split it up that way, other than, you know, these look like, you know, boy toys on the face of them, but yeah, it's sort of a weird crossover thing. She-Ra originally was going to be, it was the boys line who came up with that, but then it was taken over by the girls line and developed from there. But there must have been some deal worked out where, you know, the monsters go on Masters and the PvP stuff goes on the other line.
I actually never heard that. She-Ra was supposed to be a boys toy line?
Well, it was developed by the boys toy line, so it was there was some early concept art for She-Ra looked a lot like Tila, like they basically took Tila and made some changes to her design, but then the girls line got wind of it and they said no, we're taking this over. So they it would have if the boys line had developed it, probably would have been more like that Golden Girls series from the 80s, if you know that one, not the TV show, but the
toy line.
The toy line, yeah, a little bit more action oriented without the rooted hair, but basically it became a little bit more Barbified once the girls line got a hold of it.
What action features would Rose and Blanche and Dora?
That's what I was just thinking.
Blanche would be like Rio Blast. She'd have pop-out guns. No, wait, that's B. Whoever B. Arthur was, she'd have the pop-out guns because she was a Marine, right?
Exactly. I think Blanche would just simply be one of the most popular among the male superheroes and leave that be. If you remember the show, but either way, that's just baffling. I mean, I could tell you this: as a mostly 85 motu guy with my brother's 83, 84 characters as well, and those are some of my first memories on Earth, by the way, of basically playing with He-Mans that were, you know, probably my brother's. I had no idea that Hordak and the Horde and the Fright Zone were all She-Ra things, again because of the packaging. And I'm 5, and the cartoon. Half the villains in the cartoon were one-offs anyway, and I never really saw the She-Ra cartoon, so I only found out Hordak was more of a She-Ra thing until like a couple of years ago. I had no idea, but in my head is just, you know, because of, you know, the 2000X and blah blah blah, I just kind of think he's the Skeletor mentor who blah 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 burned his face.
Mm-hmm.
The female villains from She-Ra were also on Masters of the Universe cards, or they were on She-Ra cards?
They were on She-Ra cards.
She-Ra cards, yeah.
So in 85, I think in 85 they only had one female She-Ra villain. Was it Catra or
Catra? Yeah.
Right. So they were thin on villains on She-Ra, which is I think why they said we'll just take the He-Man one.
But Hordak was on
Hordak was a He-Man.
Hordak was on the He-Man card, and the She-Ra mini comics, they don't. They mostly the villain is Catra. They don't have all of the Horde guys on them. It focuses just on the She-Ra branded toys for the most part, which is weird. But then Filmation has both.
I was like a child, like you're kind of a barbarian. You'd like, rah! And you don't really remember what the card was on. I mean, so
it must was it like a Filmation decision to use those characters as She-Ra villains instead of Masters? Like they looked at the new stuff and they weren't going to continue the He-Man cartoon because they did the She-Ra cartoon and they stopped the He-Man cartoon, right? Because they did that movie where they handed it off, and then they're like, well, let's take these new bad guys and put them in the She-Ra cartoon.
Yeah.
So most of the bad guy, most like the male Horde members, most of them actually originated with Filmation. Like they developed Hordak and Leech and Antenna, I think. But then basically they had those and they sent them over to Mattel to develop them into toys. But the boys designers actually worked on them to turn them into the Masters figures.
Oh, so it's the other way around.
Yeah, it was reverse.
There's one case of a guy who was a Skeletor villain and he ended up changing sides. That's Modulok. So
Yep.
Modulok was in a few episodes of He-Man, and then when She-Ra started, they show you like they didn't just magically have him be Horde. He's actually with Skeletor and he quits. He's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And he defects.
You remember the line? You remember? So Modulok is there talking to Skeletor. He's like, well, why can't I join your gang? And Skeletor is like, because you're a wimp scientist and you're like a wimp.
That's right.
Who wrote this stuff?
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And then he ends up getting demoted pretty quickly by Hordak to the cook.
Ironically, I remember in the comic, Modulok was a horror. He used to take himself apart.
Oh yeah.
Different places. He was not a joke.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. I think he originated at Mattel. I've never seen any Filmation of it from Modulok.
He originated in somebody's nightmares, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
turn him into a toy.
We've got Bobby Dangerously in the chat
Bobby.
saying hi to everybody. Welcome, Bobby.
He's one of my co-hosts on the Frenzy. It's a podcast that we do on Thursdays.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Ned says, if you Google image search Masters of the Universe Spikor variant, the first 4 images show a different version. There's a lot of different versions of all the figures.
Yeah. Somebody asked me about that in the comments. I was just reading it on my Spikor article, and I never went back. I meant to go back and okay, here are the Spike variants. I'll have to finally do that.
I don't believe there was a Shadow Weaver figure at all released back in the day.
No, not
Super 7 did a fantastic retro style one a few years ago, though. That was the unfinished business one for me, the one that should have been released, and I got it with my Horde figures. It looks perfect. Bigum, hello there. Sweet B. Arthur. We get some B. Arthur figures up in this piece.
Let's do it.
Is there a single B. Arthur? I gotta look. Sorry. Just as an aside.
If not, she should be a Masters of the Universe figure.
You would think at least a Star Wars figure, right? You got to be kidding me.
Why, she wasn't the
What
special.
am I looking at here?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanna. No.
No. Oh.
Golden Girls doll.
That's a
What is this?
Whoa, what a six pack on her.
G.I. Joe? It's on a G.I. Joe body?
She was already Masters of the Universe,
Look,
apparently.
Hey,
Told
she's
you,
ready.
man, she was a Marine.
She held aloft that magic sword.
She was actually some kind of, I wish I could specifically remember, but she was communications or something for the Marines. So she wasn't, hitting the beaches in Normandy or anything. But I wouldn't be surprised if she did.
She could have. Look at those abs.
She was the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stand
you think,
aside, boys. I'll take the beach myself.
look at that. Golden Girls.
Oh, what?
It's like reaction figures. Right on. Adam,
there
so
you go.
sorry, but story this has devolved into Golden Girls action
Yeah.
figure.
It's gonna be a must buy. I think.
Sorry, let's get back to
I always as a fan of Motu, Adam, where do you stand with regards to the reasoning of this is deep, it's not toy related. Anyway, where do you stand on the reasoning of utilizing He-Man, who's essentially a barbarian character, as versus the traditional depictions of barbarians either being villains or being like a chaotic good character like Conan? I mean, what was the reasoning behind that? Do you have any idea what was in the designer's heads, or do you find it to be because he has more of a paladin personality versus the benevolent barbarian sort?
Yeah, the story went a lot of different directions early on. Like I know the very first mini comic treatment, this version didn't get published, but basically in that one, He-Man's kind of a jerk. Like he like turns on his friends and he gets mad at. He's got kind of a temper, so he does have a little bit more of that barbarian thing going on. He's a little more chaotic. And the note from Mattel was they wanted him to be more traditional, kind of heroic figure. So they didn't actually do it that way. I don't like. It was very much Frazetta influenced line, not necessarily Conan. Everybody says Conan. It's really more just here's all this amazing Frazetta artwork that's out at the time. Let's do something that looks along those lines. And they kind of just threw everything in the kitchen sink, and we've got this. They have this technology element, so it could have gone that direction, but basically Mattel being kid friendly, they want a hero that kids can look up to, so they reinterpret. They change the story that had first been written for He-Man into this more Superman-esque kind of guy. Even though he still looks like Barbarian.
You think that blends well? I mean, when you're younger, say, so I can't remember how old Prince Adam is. He's supposed to be 16 with a body like that. But anyway, 16 or 17 years old. But the children see things more as black and white the younger they are. So you think that actually adds into the whole concept of it?
I don't know. There were so many reboots of the canon. Like if you're looking from like 82 to 87, it was rebooted continuously. Just in terms of who He-Man was he, did he have an alter ego or not? In fact, in 82, so they did the first comics. They wanted to reboot him. There was this other treatment where they wanted to reboot him as this wimpy guy who was injured by Skeletor, and he had to go into this mechanical chamber, this sci-fi kind of chamber, and that's what bulked him up into this powerful guy. So, I don't know. There's so many different stories. I think for me, I kind of just let my story was more based on what I saw in the box art. I would look at the box art, and that kind of told a story, and that's sort of how that informed the way I played with them more so than like the cartoon or even some of the later comics. To me, it was just very simple battle for good and evil, and you can tell just by looking who's on which side for the most part. And it's more about that. I know when I was a kid, I didn't look at it too much in terms of characterization.
Cool. I always liked the idea that he went against the grain as a barbarian sort of character. That always kind of appealed to me. Later on, I don't know how you feel about Kevin Smith's interpretation of him, but I like the idea that there was a flashback and it showed that He-Man used to talk like a teenager, and that you kind of add in. It's nice when people add things on to a vintage character that seem to stick and fit and work, and I really do enjoy that. I mean, a lot of people gave the Netflix 3D one a lot of flack, but I liked that about the characters. And I think that the more that they endear the characters to not only the younger audiences, because my kids were like more He-Man, and I was like, I don't know if I could show you all the Revolution one, maybe when you're all older, but the more they give us, the more we can kind of further it, and if you like the comic books, for example, the newer ones, they mesh really well, and they managed to, despite it being kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s, they kind of still, everybody else around He-Man is edgy, but he kind of maintains this kind of regality and benevolence and
wholesomeness.
Yeah, this kind of wholesomeness. He's a hero still. So things are hard, but I like that, keep that.
I like that he's not Batman.
Yeah.
He never should be.
There's no He-Man hero who's Batman.
There shouldn't be one.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
I think there is one.
Skeletor?
I don't know.
No, he's a villain.
No, that's true.
Well, that ninja one.
He's a villain.
Ninja is villain.
There's Ninja.
There's none.
2000X Fisto a little bit.
Wait.
He's at least a little more gruff.
Ooh, Fisto?
Yeah.
True.
If Rio Blast sounds like Charles Bronson, maybe he's like Charles Bronson in Death Wish. That's kind of like Batman.
That's true.
my headcanon for
You
to
believe
him
in
is
Jesus,
not
you're
Charles
gonna beat him.
Bronson, it's Lee Van Cleef. So you
Okay,
know.
Lee Van Cleef.
Maybe one of Manny Face's faces is Batman.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
could
kind
be.
of refreshing then if there's no Batman character in Masters of the Universe.
That's amazing. I mean, because everyone today is Batman, but you're
Mm.
right. I can't think of one classic Masters of the Universe 80s character that.
If I may throw something crazy out there, Double M, at least in my head canon, the most Batman-like good guy in Motu is Battle Cat.
Oh, you're right. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Battle Cat
don't know,
is
I know.
Batman.
Yeah.
Because Battle
Even
Cat
he wears a mask too.
Right under our noses.
Does he? Because right. He does have that grizzly voice, so he like lowers his voice instead of using a
Yes.
voice box.
and he's not as gentle as
Batman.
He-Man. He-Man to me is Christopher Reeve's Superman. He's strong but gentle. That's the best way I could describe my He-Man. And I think most interpretations of He-Man are pretty spot on by and large. But yeah, that's how I see him. And Battle Cat to me is. I don't even think Battle Cat should talk. I think Cringer should. I love Cringer, but I don't. But either way, even if Battle Cat talks, he talks a little. He'll say some growly thing, and he's not as kind. Usually, He-Man is the one that has to say, "Easy, Cat, back off. Let's pick up Whiplash and ask him, get Whiplash to tell us what the evil plan is, or Clawful, or whoever, instead of just Battle Cat might rip his face off." And He-Man says, "Easy, Cat. It's not how we do things, but." Blah 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 blah, and we move on.
Yeah.
That is true. Actually, now He-Man consecutively throughout the years, he's always maintained a sort of purity as opposed to other characters who've gone like extreme or who've gone like dark. He's always stayed pretty, that's.
It's funny the parallels with Optimus Prime. Same thing. Prime is always trying to calm down the Autobots. No, that's not how we do things. Brave Star, same thing. Easy 30-30. Oh, it's stomping time. Got some stomping. There's so many toy lines where that's the formula, where you've got the level-headed leader who's just trying to calm down the hot-headed heroes. Interesting.
I also kind of like that He-Man wasn't really the leader of the Masters. It was kind of Man-at-Arms. He was more like the leader, and they followed him. But He-Man would show up, that's sort of
right.
Kind of him, kind of Sorceress too.
Sorceress?
Sometimes.
Randor, Marlena, like he was clearly not the authority. He was the guy who saved the bacon, but he had no authority really. He had respect, but not authority.
He's just a champion. He's just a sorcerer's champion.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that he has to be the leader of everything. He's just the guy that's going to save your butt.
That's what I like about the Netflix series, or what I've seen of it so far, is that they've tried to go back to that idea that he's the champion.
Yeah.
That he's the hero. He's the one that'll come in and save the day, even though he's not necessarily the authority. Like if he says something, the king can totally say, "I'll take that under advisement," and then not do it. And He-Man's like, "Yeah, no problem." He-Man is so Christ-like, he wouldn't even be offended. Like, "Oh, that Randor won't listen." Like He-Man is he's another level. Like he's just devoid of jealousy, bitterness. He's just like an enlightened human being.
There's no ego.
Yeah.
No ego. Exactly.
Yeah. It even foils hard with Skeletor, where it's the exact opposite. I mean, it happened in Netflix series himself. He's captured the sorceress, and he says that line, which was Mark Hamill, is call your champion, and it was like, holy crap, that was what you want. Mark Hamill is a really good Skeletor. He's no open iron, but geez, it was a good second.
What I liked, as a kid, I always thought like whoever grabbed the sword and said the words got all the strength of Grayskull, right? But I like in that series that he's actually the conduit. The sword helps him temper it, right? Because he becomes like this mindless barbarian with massive strength, is destroying everything in his path. But with the sword, he's like chill,
more refined.
Yeah,
He'll eat quiche if he uses the sword.
big man thing amongst these 6 other men. When King Randor stopped the rampaging He-Man and said he loved him, I cried. Normal. I cried. Anything to get tears out of my face. Yeah, you win.
It's a great scene. So without the sword, He-Man drinks his coffee like this, and then with the sword, the pinky comes out. more etiquette, more fun.
More articulation, more money.
Yeah. Talking about doing something that adds on to the character and it feels right. Something new, but it feels like is fitting with the old character. Adam, what do you think of King Grayskull?
I kind of like him. I know there's kind of a division, or at least there has been a division. So King Grayskull kind of came in and filled the role that Hero was supposed to fill in the vintage line. They introduced him in 2002. I like the look of him better as an ancestor for He-Man than Hero. Hero to me, it looks more like a businessman in a cosplay. Some kind of cosplay outfit. Hero or King Grayskull, he does, he looks even more barbarianish than He-Man even. I don't know. I kind of like that he has, sort of this ancestor who's connected with the castle, and that's kind of a legacy for him.
Hey, buddy, do you want to buy a car?
Guy got
Look at that. He looks like a game show host.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Welcome to You've Got the Power. Get out of here, man.
When I saw that King Grayskull episode in the Mike Young show, I thought it was so perfect because it changes in a good way. Too many times they try to change something or add a different meaning, and it just like, that's not part of my headcanon. But when they introduced a character named Grayskull, instead of sword by the power of this place Grayskull, they changed it to by the power of this man Grayskull, who this place is named after. I thought, wow, that's actually, again, that was right under our nose the whole time. That's brilliant. The castle is named after a man named Grayskull. Of course. That makes sense. And then just making him basically a big He-Man with the braids and stuff and a giant lion. Like, okay, yeah, I can go with this. I like this missing piece, this prequel type of thing. This works for me.
Yeah. There was a comic called King of Castle Grayskull that sort of alludes to, there was once this ancient king of Castle Grayskull. It didn't show, it was just some figure in the shadows. But I always like to think of that, that's kind of gets fulfilled in King Grayskull when he shows up later.
And also when they say the spirit of Grayskull, again, that makes more sense than a spirit of a building, a castle. It's
Right.
the spirit of the man that wanders the halls of his old home. Like, oh, okay, this is brilliant. Like, it's so simple. Of course, I can't believe I never thought of it.
So Netflix, the cartoon one, Masters of the Universe, they had an interesting concept where the Snake Men invaded and Grayskull. So anybody who's watched it knows there were 2 things. One of them was the staff, which was, of course, Skeletor's choice, and the other one was the sword. Anybody who wielded the sword was destined to serve. Anybody who get the staff was determined to dominate, kind of thing. And then there was at one point the Snake Men kind of went ham on Eternia, and Grayskull lost faith in himself and abandoned the sword to go for the staff in order to try to defeat the Snake Men, and ended up he did defeat the Snake Men, but by dominating them and ruining himself, essentially. And only later on down the line did He-Man, as the legacy carrying the power of Grayskull, realize that and continued to wield the sword throughout the whole thing instead of making the choice for the staff. And I found that they play with the lore, but it was respectful. So whoever at Mattel is gatekeeping this thing is doing a really good job of ensuring that whoever takes the IP doesn't disrespect the concepts that came before. And I can't remember the guy. Adam, what's his name?
I'm not going to remember it either. I focus on the vintage stuff.
Or something.
But yeah, I know who you're referring to. I just can't think of his name. But yeah, I mean, I feel like overall, story wise, I even like the CGI show, even though it's a huge departure from the designs of the vintage, it's really good storytelling. And for me, if it's a good story, then it's a good show. That's if it's you can have great artwork and it look perfect, but if it's not a good story, then it's not going to be something that's going to be compelling. It's a story. Okay.
If I could piggyback on the CGI cartoon Netflix one, one of the as you guys mentioned, even though all the origins of these characters are a colossal departure from what we're used to, one of the things I love about that show, well, there are two big things I love, but one thing I love about that show is that despite changing all these origins of these characters and everything, to me, it still has closer to the spirit of He-Man. There is still, there's morals, there's teamwork. It bleeds into the second thing I love most about the show. He does switch over to we have the power instead of I have the power. He-Man isn't neutered like in some other types of media. He's not completely, his character and his competence isn't completely thrown down the toilet like I kind of feel like in some other Netflix show. But he's very competent. He's not incapable, but he chooses to share the power. He has a choice of being He-Man and his friends can just stay his meager friends, but instead he has a choice and he chooses to be unselfish. So his friend Duncan who can become Man-at-Arms, and the same with Tila, Orko, and yeah, I know Ram Man. It's a little silly, but whatever. And maybe I'm missing one or two. Or Cringer and Battle Cat, obviously. But yeah, the idea that he's not incompetent or a royal boob in that sense, but he does choose to share the power he's been given. He does it responsibly. So I love that CGI He-Man cartoon because I get the feeling that I'm watching Filmation, even though the origins are completely wacky from what I'm used to. I still feel like I'm watching a He-Man cartoon.
Yeah,
gets the spirit of it.
Yes,
that's not appreciated by some people these days because I feel like there's a group of people that can't read between the lines. They can't. Everything needs to be literal. That's what I'm trying to say.
People can't read.
It has to be. It has to be literal. And I talk about the spirit, the essence of something. And so, watching something, I go, "Wow, that looks totally different," but it really feels right. Well, how do you quantify feel? You can't quantify it. So you've got your group of people who want something quantifiable. And that's why fashion is so important to them. And then you got your people who are like, well, I don't care what it looks like. Just let it be true to the thing. And one thing that I wish we would hear more often from the people making this stuff, bringing it back, rebooting it, reviving it, is hearing them say, so-and-so wouldn't do that. Like you rarely hear a writer say that. So like when, for example, when I see on Facebook or on the groups or something where they say, okay, who would win? I don't know, He-Man versus Zodak, who would win? My reaction is they wouldn't fight, or who would win King Randor and Man-at-Arms? They wouldn't fight. They wouldn't do that. That's an option. But then there's this group of people who are like, well, Man-at-Arms would win because he's more skilled and he has more. But the essence is they would not fight. He-Man especially would say, I'm not doing this. Why would I do that? What do I have to gain? Both of them would say that. So I've heard great things about that CGI show because it's one of those. This is the essence of the character. He wouldn't do that, and she wouldn't do that, and he would do this, and he would do that.
Yeah, I personally believe you'd enjoy it. Like I said,
there's Hazel.
I think, and as I said, it's interesting throughout the whole thing. Violence was always, no matter the media, the last option for He-Man. He was the strongest dude. It wouldn't have been hard for him to pulverize his way through everything, but it was always the last option. And as I said, whoever was gatekeeping this knew this, and they understood what made a hero. It's the same guys who did Optimus Prime. They knew what made him a hero, not his strength or his power or any of that, but his restraint, his humility, his ability to pull himself back. And I think we miss a lot of that, you know. And I hope that whoever does He-Man next, whoever that is, carries that lesson forward and maintains this. I mean, I don't mind if we do another young He-Man who's learning how to be He-Man, as long as whoever it is understands that He-Man is not the sword or the power of Grayskull, but rather the individual who understands that, to quote Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, sort of thing. You know what I mean? And it's such a wonderful tale to tell kids, because you know you've got a good cartoon when I wake up on Saturday with the pressure on my chest and I look up and my 4-year-old is looking at me like, when's season 3 coming up? Get off of me! You know, it's not a good show.
Master Far, good to see you. Zazel, we're going to be wrapping up soon, but if you want to join us for a few minutes, I sent you a link on Instagram again, if you want to join us here. Yeah, so in closing, what do we want to talk about in closing? My world famous closings that take like 20 minutes. Sorry. I should just end the stream right now. Bye. Well, that was different.
Until next time.
Exactly.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
I'll throw something out real fast just to get it in. Some of you guys know I'm a stand-up comic. And I do have a small bit about He-Man, and I'm not going to do a stand-up bit here. It never works. But there is one line and then one closer I'll throw in. Just as a goof around, especially when I know the people are roughly my age. And it sounds like it's going to be edgy, and it totally isn't. The line is, I'm such an 80s kid. My pronouns are he, man. And it usually gets, it takes a second, but then it's like a big wave. And I'm like, okay, they're with me. And then there's some I have a little fun with He-Man or the big 3 of the 80s. I have a little fun with that for a few minutes. But when it hits, instead of saying, hey, that's my time, I'm Bob Hansen, you guys are great, I'm Bob, thank you, there's always that mini little closer. A handful of times, and I did it the last 2 nights in the downtown San Diego. I said, oh God, did whatever my big closer was, hopefully gets a laugh, blah 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 blah. Thanks, by the power of Grayskull, I'm Bob Hansen, thank you so much, enjoy the rest of the show. So I just want you to know that in the last 48 hours, or actually no, 36, I've had 6 shows in the last 3 days. Wow. I'm a little sleepy today. Sorry, guys. But I've that's how I've been closing my shows. So, and at one point in Austin, Texas, last October, a gentleman comes up to me, and he because I remember, you know, when some people go a little extra nuts at those references, and of course that person will come up to you after the show and talk to you. A guy comes up to me to show me his He-Man, his Battle Cat. His He-Man and Battle Cat tattoo on his bicep, and his Moss Man tattoo on his calf. And that guy obviously did follow me on Instagram, and I hear from him all the time with all kinds of memes and things, whether I requested never or not. But it's the people. It ain't like Star Wars. It ain't like Marvel. It's small, but the people are out there, and they have the power. So I love He-Man. He-Man fans are so chill and kind of, I think, understand that strong but gentle Optimus Prime, Christopher Reeve Superman type of spirit. So I love talking to He-Man fans. So it's worth throwing it out there whenever I can to see. You throw out that net and see what you catch, and sometimes you end up talking to a He-Man fan. It's pretty cool.
It'd be cool if the Moss Man tattoo grew over the years. It just kind of spread. I wonder if did he smell like Pine Sol? Does he use Pine Sol shampoo and body wash?
He definitely
just in that area.
Plant of some sort.
I do have a question about the lore of Motu, and that Filmation did all the animation for it, right? And it was that Lou Scheimer took care in doing that and made sure that the messages in there and all that. Did they have a lot to do with the lore of Motu after they started doing the cartoon? No.
Yeah, they developed a lot of it, but it was kind of built a little bit before that. I know there was a couple of things in the '80s that Filmation built off of. One was DC Comics did a series that started with the Superman crossover series. They did 5 full size comics in
Yeah.
'82, and then there was like a Masters of the Universe Bible written at the end of '82 that was supposed to be for animation and toys. So Filmation mostly built off of those 2 sources, but then they expanded the universe and a lot of it was really developed and kind of became more solidified as canon, like especially like how what Prince Adam looks like, how he transforms into He-Man, sort of the relationship with him and the Sorceress that comes into the familiar thing that we know in Filmation. So it's kind of that tipping point where it becomes solidified into that thing that everybody seems to know with that original cartoon.
So I'm a big Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon fan, right? And Filmation had done a series on Flash Gordon, and when I watch that, I get the feel like when I look at it, it's like it has a motu feel to it. And I was just wondering if they themselves took a little inspiration from when they did that. And I think that was like the late '70s, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they did. And even on the Mattel side, there was a little bit of Flash Gordon influence too. Filmation would kind of redraw some of the animation sequences from some of their older shows and use those in Masters as well.
Yeah.
And some of the same writers too. So some of those old previous shows did carry into Masters.
Yeah, because there's a huge like Eternian has like a Mongo feel to it. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Buck
I mean,
Rogers,
out there.
MOTU crossover.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. We've got Michael Bay lover in the chat here. He's an uncharacteristic bore who never studied the source material.
Well, don't call him uncharismatic.
I mean, those films are good for what they are, popcorn films. But like, when you can't make out what the Transformer looks like, when he's transformed, you're like, oh, I guess.
Bag of hangers.
Right?
I heard it described as that years ago, a bag of hangers, and I thought that's actually exactly what they look like when they're robots.
Like, yeah, I mean, like the cartoon, and they did it in Bumblebee, right? Where they look kind of like what they're supposed to look like, but in those other ones, it's like all these moving parts, like you can see through Prime's like windshield and all that stuff,
face.
and you're like, why does it need to look like that? Why can't it just look like they look like, right?
Yeah, even the face, like when they were showing it leading up to the movie, it looked impressive. Like, wow, the eyes have like 4 irises and tons of technology, but in motion, it's overwhelming. Like, this is too much.
It's way too busy.
I mean,
Bay was probably one of those adults that couldn't transform the toys. maybe Stick Shot.
I only know how to transform Grimlock. The rest of them, I have to look up.
I'd go on record saying the toys from the Michael Bay films were very difficult to transform. I bought a few because I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I got to add one of these. I'd stopped collecting Transformers until one of my buddies bought me a Beachhead from the Pursuit of Cobra line, so that got me back in. And when Michael Bay launched his stuff, the first Transformers movie, I was like, oh, that was a really cool movie. I want to get an Optimus Prime. It took me like 45 minutes to transform that thing, and I was like, this might be it, boys. I might be out of Transformers. That might be it.
So I got a closing topic to talk about here. So I just did a commentary with Buzz Dixon on an Inhumanoids episode that he wrote, and it is hilarious. It had a lot more humor than most of the Inhumanoids episodes I can remember, because they were creepy and scary with a little bit of like that uneasy humor that you find in horror movies. But Buzz is just off the wall, because by the time he wrote that episode, they told him, we're canceled, we're done, and it doesn't matter. Like, what are you going to do? Get canceled again? So he just made it really zany. And I asked him, if they bring in humanoids back, do you think it should have humor or should just go dark and everyone's Batman and serious and make it H.P. Lovecraft, for kids and for teens and what young adults. And Buzz said that he thought the humor was an important element to it. So if they do the live action He-Man that a lot of us have been looking forward to for a long time, and Netflix was supposed to do it and they pulled the plug on it. I think the rights have gone to someone else now, or Netflix lost it. Do you want to see something that's true to Filmation and kind of have that fun goofiness to it, like Prince Adam, He-Man, same guy with a tan? Like, do you want to go that route, or do you think it should be Lord of the Rings, like dark, gritty, and as realistic as possible?
I'm
Let's start
afraid.
with,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's start with Flying Fists Adam. We haven't heard from you in a few.
I would like to see it stay true to the original spirit. I think there's
So
so
even
much.
Even lighter tone than the 87,
Yeah.
87 live action movie, Dolph Lundgren.
There's so much heavy, dark stuff out there. There's plenty of that to choose from. I'd like to see something more, maybe not quite as goofy and zany as some of the original cartoons, but something more in line with that feel.
Put a smile on your face instead of
Yeah.
cool. Next, Adam.
I would like to see something tonally like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, where there's stakes, there's serious things going on, but there's also, it's not, it's colorful and it's fun. So you've got you mix a balance of those things.
That's a great one. I'm thinking more the first one, but that first Guardians really caught me by surprise. I didn't know much about Guardians, and I walked out of that like it was a great action movie, but it was an awesome feel-good movie that actually, that final scene really tugged at the heartstrings, where they're all like holding, it's we have the power, basically was the whole climax of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is totally what you could do in the magical world of Masters of the Universe. Zazel is saying a good mix, humor where appropriate, serious when required. So mixing it up a bit. Bob?
I'm a little afraid of any live action He-Man. I'm always afraid that that He-Man or Masters of the Universe will be the butt of the joke instead of having a fun joke.
Right.
Like humor in a Batman movie, maybe there's two jokes, but it's never at Batman's expense. Like hey, it's Michael Keaton's Batman, and maybe some goon somewhere does something kind of dumb. He's in trouble, and that's the joke. Like, not that let's goof on Batman, let's goof on He-Man. You kind of like, I want. What was that Thundercats cartoon 10 years ago or something?
Thundercats.
Roar?
Roar. Yeah.
I guess to make fun of them. I would always be a little, and there was the Barbie movie, which I guess that had like a different message and everything. But I would hate to watch something where a bunch of adults, now, well, they'd be 30-something, probably 30-year-old actors, make fun of what they think He-Man was.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little bit afraid of that. And I think certain reincarnations of He-Man suffered greatly from that, of people, what they think He-Man was. So I'm always a little afraid of anytime you throw live action into the mix. I think anything with like the CGI cartoon that captures the spirit of He-Man, it's always the most important. Whether it's cartoon live, movie, or episodic, the spirit's there, then we're going to be good. But 2000X, I think, had that right thing, that right attitude of serious versus humor. Is because Skeletor isn't the joke. He is Ghostbusters. The ghost is never the joke. The ghosts are taken seriously. Unfortunately, some of the people trying to capture the ghosts are kind of goofy, but the threat is a threat, and maybe that's not a good example because all the Ghostbusters are silly. But I think you see where I'm going.
Yeah.
But just be in the right places.
I agree. Usually I say, if you want to make a live action movie, go to Larry Hama's comics, go to the original Transformers cartoon, give us that in live action before you muck with it. But as far as He-Man goes, I think that 2000X is the perfect template for a live action movie rather than the Filmation one, because it is the Filmation show with just a little more stakes, just a little more serious, but it's true. You can't make He-Man the butt of the joke, and the new Netflix show got that right. He's the champion. He's not, the idiot, the goof. Look how stupid he looks and stupid he dresses. Like, everyone has reverence for him and respect, and he is almost kind of like a holy figure. Like, everyone, when they see He-Man, they know this is not a normal mortal man. This isn't Fisto or King
I don't know.
Randall.
Fisto's a normal man. He's got a big giant fist.
Well, Ram Man, but He-Man is almost like a heavenly creature. He's a magical, mystical being, and I never really thought about that. But it's nice that they don't just turn him into a joke in any of the shows. Really, like when he shows up, everyone breathes a sigh of relief instead of making a joke at his expense. I was so worried when Luke Skywalker showed up in The Mandalorian that he was just going to be the butt of the joke, right? Because he's the old lame character, and these new cool characters were going to be like, what a loser.
Yeah.
And when they fell silent, I went, thank God. Like, that's reverence. He is like a holy character, sacred. So hopefully they stick with that with He-Man.
A living legend.
Yeah. If they didn't go the CGI route, if they had to cast a wrestler to play He-Man, cast any guy you want to play Adam, but you get a big beefy guy to play He-Man. Why Batista? No, I'm kidding. Like, who'd you pick?
Do they have to be of the same age they are today? Like,
no.
Okay, well, we'll de-age. I'm going to go with John Cena. And
pretty much.
I think
he is the embodiment of He-Man.
Get the spirit. I know a lot of people would point to, especially in the 80s, they point to Warrior and whatnot.
I don't know about Warrior.
There's logistics involved. I'm like, oh, good luck.
Warrior is maybe He-Man without the sword, transformed without the sword. He's the savage He-Man.
Cody Rhodes, easily.
Okay.
Easily. Cody Rhodes.
I thought Cody would be the perfect Duke in a new reboot G.I. Joe movie.
It's too big.
Well,
he's a He-Man.
He's not that tall. I think he's about 6 feet or just under 6 feet.
I think Mike, you're right. I think because he's not a massive frame, so he'd be a good Duke.
Maybe,
He-Man, probably not.
But next to Hollywood actors, he might look like a giant, though. That's true. Like, look at the Von Erich movie, Iron Claw. Like, Zac Efron looked massive in that movie, but you put him next to a real wrestler, and it's like, oh, he's kind of...
he's so cute.
He's kind of, he's cute. He's a little average looking.
He's a very small, in-shape guy next to the average pro wrestler.
I'm looking over at my LJN shelf. Who would be the perfect He-Man? Oh yeah, say no more. Yeah, power of Grayskull. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Is a Duncan Macho Man is a man?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Macho Man at Arms.
How many times I gotta tell you, Tila, you're not the chosen one. It's Adam.
There you go. Sergeant Slaughter. We're on to something new here. Sergeant Slaughter. We're off on one of our tangents. Roddy Piper as He-Man, maybe? I don't know. Well, by the power of the Grayskull.
All jokes aside, Chris Hemsworth would actually, unfortunately, be a good He-Man too.
I'm thinking, what's his name? The guy from Jack Reacher, the show.
Oh yeah,
he's very not just the look, but the kind of you need kind of a calming presence.
Yeah.
Too, despite being the bull in the china shop, he's kind of got that. Yeah, that's a good one. Zazel would be a good choice.
Alan Richson, he'd be, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Anytime you look at, so here's a little art nonsense for you. So the average superhero body is 5 times the human head, right? If you look at Alan Richman, as I'm looking at right now, it's like 5.5, 6. It's just density. So sure, I'd take that. Mm-hmm. He's like 10 feet tall. He's standing next to some dude here, and he's huge. He's massive. Edge as a King Grayskull. Anyway, whatever.
Ooh, okay, that's not bad. He kind of has that weathered look.
Kind of.
really has that weathered look.
Yeah.
He's from Toronto. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe something really out there like Greg the Hammer Valentine as He-Man today. No de-aging, nothing. Just Greg Valentine as He-Man.
Oh, I think I could pull off. I think I'd be a good Clawful.
Clawful.
You can see that. Pick me up.
Man, there's so many zany characters that like any stunt casting, you know, like anybody as Stinkor or Beastman, it could be pretty funny.
Just don't cast The Rock as the Skeletor, all right? I just don't want to.
Triple H, not so much these days. He had a pretty serious heart issue a while back, so he's not as big as he used to be.
See, 20 years ago at Triple H, sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he even had I think he dressed up in a very He-Man similar costume for some of his WrestleMania entrances. He was going for that look. Definitely. But it probably best bet would just to go the unknown route and just not have any baggage going in. And just let that guy be He-Man going forward, right. Kind of like you is.
Rhea Ripley is Evelyn, and then I'll leave it be.
There you go. It always comes back to wrestling. Wrestlers. Don't cast The Rock, period.
He I was not know about to answer that.
Serious Rock backlash going on.
I was so looking forward to that Black Adam movie. I went and saw that. I'm like, this is The Rock, not Black Adam. This is not fair.
I enjoyed the 20 minutes I saw before I turned it off.
I mean,
I'm Egyptian, you know.
I went to see it. I was really pumped to see that, and then I walked out, and I'm like, it was The Rock, not Black Adam.
Yeah. He's found his character, his persona to play in movies. When he was younger, he was trying to branch out and do different things. If you really want to see him unlike you've ever seen him before, he did a movie called Southland Tales when he was younger. So he's even smaller in that too. He dropped a whole bunch of weight for that movie. So he's not like a big muscular guy. And he's like really jittery in that movie. He plays like a screenwriter. So he's like this nervous, anxious type of, nerd. So I remember seeing that movie and thinking like, wow, that's really outside of his wheelhouse. Didn't do much. No one ever saw it. So he's sticking with what makes the money. There you go. Jack Black is
Nice.
Those are always fun. The dream castings.
Guitar.
Who's Hordak? Who would play Hordak?
Oh, I know I can think of two voices I'd get for Hordak if they CGI the whole thing. I'd get either Charles Dance to voice him, or you get Tony J to voice Hordak. One of those two. And it's just going to be a big CGI thing.
I want to see Jack Nicholson as Hordak.
Here's the deal, man.
Skeletor, you again.
Yeah. Actually, I would just cast Kurt Russell as He-Man. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Hey, give Skeletor to Mark Hamill. He did a good job in the Netflix show.
He did. He was a stellar Skeletor, and he was disrespectful and funny, and I don't know. Mark Hamill is, if you really look at Mark Hamill's filmography, the dude is he's very talented. We only know him from like 3 or 4 things, but he's been in horror and action and that, but we only know him from Star Wars and Batman. But the dude
he's fought the typecasting his whole life.
Yeah,
he's tried to not fall in line with the whole I'm Luke Skywalker thing. So he's done some really varied stuff. I remember I saw a straight to video movie with him. I think it was in the late 80s. It was with Bill Paxton called Slipstream, where he plays like a really hard-nosed bounty hunter in the sci-fi space movie. And he's got like bleached hair and a beard. He's unrecognizable, and he's quiet and he's tough, and it's totally not Mark Hamill. He's playing Harrison Ford instead of playing Mark Hamill in the movie.
He was in a little movie called The Guyver where he turned into a giant
Oh,
crab.
Yeah,
I
and he
remember
was
that
also in
one.
Children of the Corn. It's just like he's
Right.
been in so many things.
I wish he had done a rom-com. Just like, an 80s rom-com, like all those guys got to do.
Did anybody ever see him in the Muppet Show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that
was perfect for it.
Yeah, he was a Muppet in that show, which
Yeah.
was amazing.
Well, he
to
wanted to be there. Like, he was a fan of the
Yeah.
stuff. So you could tell he was actually enjoying, he was geeking out being with the Muppets. He loved it. He was like basically Jim Henson there, like, oh my God, I'm playing opposite Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog.
How many of us would love to do that? I would.
All of us.
Yeah.
I remember I saw an amazing quote because there was a Muppet Christmas Carol and then there was Muppet Treasure Island, and both of those movies starred fantastic actors. So Michael Caine was in Christmas Carol, and oh gosh, that guy with the voice, damn, and he was in Congo, and he was, the diamonds, they're all true. Oh gosh, whatever.
Oh, Tim Curry.
Thank you, Tim Curry. Jeez, that says a lot about my impersonation. Anyway, you're welcome. Anyway, so they said that they starred so well because Michael Caine treated the Muppets as though they were fellow actors, and Tim Curry treated himself as a Muppet when he was in the Muppet Show, and that helped to merge them into the worlds perfectly. And at that point, I realized that's really the call of a good actor. They kind of watch what they're in and kind of subvert who and what they are, and they put them in that world. Like some of the times, like we were just talking about The Rock, he can't do that a lot
And
of
acclimate.
always The Rock,
That's true. When in Rome, do
When
as
in
the Romans
Rome.
do.
When in Manhattan, when in space.
When in San Diego, go see Bob Hansen.
Yeah.
Stand-up comedy. When's the next show, Bob?
Oh, what do I got going on? Nothing special. In Los Angeles, the Netflix is a Joke Festival, May 10th. If you find my buddy Zoltan Kazis, he's doing an hour, and I'm going to open for him at the Hotel Cafe, Los Angeles, May 10th. Wait a minute. Never mind. He sold out the tickets. You can't go to that. I just realized that you surprised me. I didn't think you were going to do that. I didn't have anything on.
Check out Bob's videos, Bob Hansen jokes on YouTube and Instagram.
Yes. I do play motion. I'm on start releasing episode 3 of my go-to motu play motion series. So that's why I'm such an Origins nut. I have Snake Mountain behind me. I like to make those.
Bob Productions.
Was that Sun Bob Productions? That's
Sun
right.
Bob.
So aptly named. So I'm working on those. It's a handful of people are starting to jump onto those and watch me make my Motu Origins based movies and do my own stories and seasons, etc., etc. And there's a lot of wrestlers involved too because of those Mattel crossovers and Motu style wrestlers and everything else. There's a lot going on right now. Man at Arms put a ring next to Castle Grayskull, and some folks are not happy about it. So there's some stuff going on.
Everything always comes back to wrestling and doing this new history of MOTU 85. There's a lot of wrestling references in this video, and so just something about He-Man. It just goes hand in hand with wrestling. They made the best wrestling figures other than LJN back in the 80s. They look like wrestlers, so.
He-Man's one of the most pro wrestling things on earth. It's good versus evil with the craziest characters you can imagine, and you have your top heels and baby faces, and then down the card, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. There's another wrestling reference. Brutus Beefcake is Leech. Okay, that's kind of like Greg Valentine as He-Man.
Is he referring to being around Hulk Hogan a lot?
Oh man! Come on.
I think that's no. I'm not trying to make. I think that's literally the joke he's making there.
You can catch Gaz on Zazel's Clubhouse. Gaz and Zaz and Gaz.
Yeah, we'll be doing a show tomorrow night around 8:30.
Awesome. Share a link there in the comment there if you want, Gaz. Hans, do you want to plug anything? You got your Instagram, right?
Yeah, I work on Instagram. I do a lot of art there. I haven't put anything for about a week because this week was a little tumultuous in the old personal life. But I'm working on a novel right now, a graphic novel. hopefully it will be out by the end of the year. If not, you'll see it early 2025. It's very much a traditional fantasy novel for those who like Dungeons and Dragons and high fantasy stuff. It's very clean, good for the kids. I will warn you though, I'm an English major, so it is written in Shakespearean English. So elevate your elocution with regard to the language. And if that's your sort of thing, I'd be very happy if you bought a book. If not, well, enjoy the Instagram. It's free.
Hans_Chow on Instagram. Check that out. Flying Fists. Adam, do you want to plug anything?
I got nothing. You can't find me anywhere.
He's like a Scareglow. He's not featured in this episode. But glad you were here to join us. And Adam, Battle Ram Adam, you have a website, I hear.
I do. That's the rumor. So battleroundblog.com. I'm on most of the social medias. If you just look up Battle Round Blog, you'll find it. And then most Thursdays, although not for the rest of, not for the next couple of weeks, but most Thursdays I'm on Skelevator's channel. We do a live broadcast on Thursdays called Frenzy. So if you want to check that out, I'm usually hanging out there on Thursday nights.
Awesome. Is there anything on the Battle Ram blog that, something special and unique coming up?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just did a post. It just came out today on Strobo. This obscure character who was supposed to come out in 1988 was never released. He did show up in one comic, so that's new. I'm also working on an article all about the spirit of Grayskull, which we brought up today. Just some of his past appearances. So that'll be coming up in the next week or so.
Sweet. Check that out. All right, guys, we're out of here. Thanks everyone in the chat for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this, and everyone here in the video chat, thanks for spending your Sunday evening, chatting He-Man. Much appreciated. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone
Thanks
have
for
a great
having me.
night. Until next time, we have the power. Good night, everyone.
Good journey.